Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Wet Weather Challenge. I see people are coming in, logging in, some familiar faces. Um, so this is fun. I wanted to put together a wet weather challenge for you. Some people have been asking me for it, and I'd set it up so that the timing was going to be for when this supposed next cyclone was coming through Mackay. But we've been lucky in the fact that that hasn't really happened as yet, and we've got beautiful sunny weather at the moment. So I hope you are getting a chance to do a little bit more with your horses at the moment. But either way, it doesn't really matter. We've got some good exercises for you coming through over the next 10 days. It is going to be raining again sooner or later. And the fact that we had several people, come on and really interested in this week shows me that this is a really relevant topic for everyone. And what often happens over the wet season for a lot of people is there's this feeling of like, we can't really do anything with our horses. There's not much we can do. It's too wet. We can't ride. And I've always said you can still do a lot with your horses, even with limited space, limited dry space, or even in wet conditions. You can still really be putting a lot of value into your partnership, because the way that I look at partnerships and the way that I develop partnerships is it's not just the things that you're going out and doing with your horse together, as such as riding them, taking them to events, and doing those kind of experiences together that builds your partnership, although that's part of it, of course. The other part of it is how you show up on a daily basis and how they perceive you. And then that, of course, feeds into your partnership, whether they trust you or not, whether they accept your leadership or not. So what the opportunity that we have over the wet season is to really build that part of it, and to slow down and pay a lot of attention to detail, or to things that we might skip over when we're more in that busy season of, okay, we're going to ride this afternoon. So we get out there, catch our horse, do all the things, and we go ride. But in doing so, we might be missing some of the ways that we can further develop our partnership, or the ways that we're actually undermining it, that we're not noticing in those small interactions that we do on a daily basis. So wet weather's a really great time to pause and take note of that stuff and build on that, which is what we'll be doing in the next 10 days. And just to set a bit of context for you, this 10-day challenge, it's really not, I'm not just going to give you 10 exercises that you just go and do those for 10 days. This is really about building you or developing you into a better horsewoman, like I just mentioned, in the way that you present yourself, in the way that you are around your horse, the things that you notice, the things that you allow or don't allow, and how you handle them being to being. And I think all of you are here for that reason, to develop as a horsewoman. It's not just a case of, I'm bored, I've got nothing to do, give me something to do. So, and you want to become somebody that your horse really trusts. You're predictable, you're readable. And again, if you are not paying attention to those things over the wet season, when you are still having interactions with them, but not necessarily working, if you're not paying attention to those things over that period of time, you can get to the end of the wet season, you're coming back into work, and you've got a horse that's fresh, that's got attitude, and you're kind of starting from square one again. I think everybody's probably experienced that. I definitely have in the past before I knew about this stuff, where it feels like you're starting over again. I don't really have that problem anymore. And yeah, I want to share that with you. So that's where we're going. And again, this is not really just a bunch of exercises to fall back on when it's wet. We're building foundations into your partnership. Real weight to you, real authority in how you are around your horses. Yes. So that's what I wanted to start with and give you context on. Now, the structure of the challenge, you might have seen this already in the Facebook group, but obviously we're going to run for 10 days. We have a live call tonight. We have another one tomorrow night at the same time. And then there's one next Wednesday. So there's 3 calls total. In those calls, I'll just be talking you through some context around the exercises that we're going to be doing. These calls will be dropping into the Facebook group, so you can catch the replay there if you want to look at it again. Everything will be going into that Chilled Horsewoman Facebook group, including the instructional exercises. So tonight I'm going to be talking through some things. I'll share my screen in a little while, just give you, just show you a little bit of the video for the first exercise, but I won't do the full video tonight. It's probably 20 minutes long or so. You can watch that in the group. I'll drop it in there either tonight or tomorrow morning so that you can get started on the first one. But these calls are for context and also for Q&A. So this is a chance for me to talk with you. If you're coming up with any problems, I can actually, talk through it and get a really good understanding so I can help you move through that. And then obviously in a week's time, when you've had a bit more of a chance to implement things, you're going to have questions, you're going to have maybe even like, hey, we're doing great with this stuff. What else can we move on to? So that's how it's going to go. And following this challenge, there'll be an opportunity as well to sort of stay in this type of learning like we're doing in this challenge, or move into some of my other mentorship programs if you're interested in that. So I'll talk about that more towards, as we work through. So any questions so far, just before I move on? Hi, Catherine. Yep.
I was just wondering, can we share this to people after the recording? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love you to. I put that in the Facebook group too as well. The only thing is you'll have to invite people to come to the Facebook group, or just tell them to get in touch with me and I can direct that. Also, every time you invite somebody, you'll get an entry into the draw that I do at the end of the month for a one-on-one session, private session with me. So yeah, if you know of anybody that you think would benefit, absolutely invite them. But they will have to come into that Facebook group to access everything.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
And same for everyone here. This isn't going to be sent out on email like I've done with other webinars in the past. It's all in the Facebook group. Okay. So over the 10 days, I'm going to be the exercises I'm going to be sharing with you will approach your partnership from a few different angles. So, for example, to start with, one that I pretty much always start with, and those of you who've worked with me for a while know this, it's to do with personal space, it's to do with your authority and leadership. And that really will set the tone for us to then implement the other exercises a lot more easily when your horse is cooperative and you've set that healthy herd dynamic. So that will be the first one. It will be to do with herd dynamics. Herd dynamics, personal space authority. The next exercise will be around reading body language and building trust. So something that I often talk about as well is we've got to pair authority with empathy to have good leadership, a good balanced leadership. But we've got to set the authority part up first, because that's what keeps us safe, and that's what enables our horses to be able to take direction from us. And then the empathy part is reading their feedback, reading their body language, and adjusting what we're doing, adjusting how we're training, adjusting the way that we present things to them so that they can learn in a more easy way and build trust in us. So we're pairing authority with empathy. The third thing that we'll be touching on it's to do with body language as well, but it's more about developing two-way communication with your horse. So again, we start with that authority where we're instructing them, or we're setting a standard so that we're safe. We then making sure that we can read their body language and adjust to it. And then the third part is taking their feedback. And when they're in that really cooperative state, building their trust in us, that they can communicate back to us, and that we will take that on board, and that there can be more of this two-way communication. So this will make more sense to you as we go and you see what the exercises are, but that's just setting the scene for how we'll move through. And obviously that third one, the two-way communication, is really good for like shutdown horses, like off-the-track thoroughbreds, horses that have maybe been competed and pushed through a lot of stuff tend to be a little bit shut down, or really stoic, and not engage so much in that two-way communication. So that could be really fun for those kind of horses. And we may move on to some other angles depending on how much time we have towards the end as well. But that's where we're headed. So starting with the personal space and authority. The exercise that is going to be dropped in the group, in the Facebook group tomorrow, is what I call vacating the gate. Who here knows what that is? Who's done that with me? Some of you have. I might not have called it that, but you've done it. So it is exactly what it sounds like. This one is really good for when you're going out to your horses on a daily basis, especially if you're feeding them, whether it's supplements or hay or whatever you're doing. Most horses, if we leave them to their own devices, they're going to crowd the gate. If you're a confident person, maybe that doesn't bother you. Maybe you can, navigate them pretty easily. But what we're going to be doing in this exercise is having them vacate the gate and move away, and actually create a couple of horse lengths space there before you even get to the gate and move inside. So we're creating, we're showing them, this is our bubble at the moment, and you need to give way to that, move out, and give you all of that space at the gate so that you can come inside, you can set your buckets down, you can open the gate in or out, it doesn't matter. And they're just going to be standing back, waiting. So this does a couple of things. First thing is pretty obvious. It sets you up as the authority as you're coming into the paddock. like from the first interaction. We're not waiting to catch our horse, start riding, all of that stuff before we start communicating to them, hey, I'm in charge here. We do it at the gate. We do it at the first interaction. It also causes them to give way to you physically, which is, if we look at herd dynamics and we look at how horses navigate each other in the paddock and how they figure out who's giving instructions or who is in charge, it is always the horse who does the moving of the other horses is the one that's in charge. So again, it sets that up for you from the beginning, where the horse understands by the way that you carry yourself as you're coming into the yard or the gate, they understand that you intend to be in charge of what happens in here. You're aware of their proximity to you. You're aware of their movements. You're aware of who's coming into your space. You're aware of who's decided that they want the feed bucket and they're coming over, and you're obviously going to move them on. So all of those things are communicating to your horse from the get-go your authority. And this is, I think this is super important in wet weather, especially because, I mean, how many times have you had excited horses running from the back of the paddock up to you at the gate because they know they're going to get a feed, or they're excited to see you? And normally they might be able to stop within a couple of meters, but not when it's wet. We don't want to be Skittles on their slippery slide as they're coming through. So that extra space, those 2 horse lengths, as opposed to maybe what you might normally do, is really going to give you a lot of safety. Okay. It's also, and I think I did mention this, it's also going to set the tone for everything else you do afterwards. So whether you are giving them feed, whether you're just catching them to groom, groundwork, and obviously when it's drier, you're riding, your technical stuff. For example, if you want to put your leg on your horse and have them move off your leg, are they going to give you a yes or a no? Are they going to be tuned in to your instruction or not? And that starts in the paddock. That starts with how they perceive you and whether you get to move them or not. So I see for a lot of people, they can be putting a lot of work into the ridden work and the technical stuff, and they might be doing well in some areas there. But if the ground handling and the overall herd dynamics are not consistent across the board, they're undermining themselves all the time, like literally every day. In my experience, horses immediately get softer and more responsive when you're doing this stuff that I'll be teaching you. Okay. Just checking that I've covered what I wanted to. Yeah, something I wanted to mention too, just with regards to the safety aspect. A lot of people will say, especially if they've been hurt, they'll say the horse didn't mean to do it. They didn't mean any harm. It's not their fault. And that is true. However, the reason for that is horses can only see us through their lens of like horses, how horses think, how horses interpret things. So when a horse swings around and knocks you over or accidentally tramples on you, they can be the most kindest horse in the world. But when they make physical contact with you, they're actually kind of expecting you to just bounce off them like another horse would, or even like a foal would when it gets bumped into by the other horses. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where foals will be running along with the herd and they're literally getting bumped around by the other horses. But because they've got these four legs that can do this, they don't fall over. So it's a surprise for a horse when they bump into us and we fall over. They're not expecting us to be flat on the ground. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people often get knocked over and hurt, because the horse just isn't expecting it, isn't expecting us to be on the ground like that. So again, it's our responsibility to set some boundaries and make sure that they understand we're in charge and they don't get to push into our space. That's just us protecting us by giving them boundaries. And this is where leadership, authority, connection, and trust and focus begins, when you are speaking to them or you are directing them in a way that other horses direct each other and they understand that. So when you show up to the paddock and you're able to hold your personal space, you're able to direct what happens in your personal space, what is allowed, what isn't allowed, what behavior you encourage and what behavior you actually reject and send them away for. That's where you build your authority and your leadership. So I'm going to jump into a little bit of that exercise now. I'm just going to skip through some parts of it so that you get a little bit of an idea of what I've been talking about. Let me move this over here. When I press play here, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the sound or not. So if you can hear it, can you give me a thumbs up? And if you can't, can you give me a thumbs down? All right. I don't know, actually don't know how to give you sound. Anyway, I'll just scroll through a little bit. You'll get the idea. You can watch this in full once it's uploaded into the Facebook group anyway. Okay, so it's probably not very exciting without the sound, but you get the idea. We're basically clearing that gate, having the horses stand back, and then we can go give them their feed or whatever it is that we're going to do, catch them, whatever it is that we're going to do next. And you might have been able to see, I'm not sure how big the screen is for you, but you might have been able to see that when I opened the gate and went in, I could drop my bucket down on the ground. I could turn my back to the horses and they weren't moving. Like I could leave, actually in another part of the video, I did actually leave the gate open. And normally they would want to come outside because there's fresh green pick outside, even though they've got bulk in their paddock. You know, grass is always greener on the other side. But when you set a boundary like that and they believe you and they really respect your authority, you're pretty safe. And it's not like, oh, they see a gap and they're going to make a beeline for it. That's just not. They know that's not accepted and it's not an option. So, coming full circle back around to the Chilled Horsewoman, the name, the Chilled Horsewoman Facebook group, when you have this ability to be able to set horses back like that and know that you're safe and know that they're responding well to your authority and your energy, things feel so much more relaxed because you're not like watching your back. You're not like feeling all this pushing and like you've got to protect yourself. So that is the first exercise that's going to be dropping. Does anyone have any questions on that? Does it sound pretty straightforward? Any concerns around sending your horse away? Does anyone have any concerns about putting that space between you? As in, does it mean my horse is going to not want to be caught? Does it mean it's punishment? No concerns there? Sometimes they come up. All good? We're on the same page. That's awesome. Okay. Is there anyone that you feel like you've already got this down pat and you're like, okay, I'm looking for something else? I already know that this is good. I'm looking for something else, or I know I'm going to be looking for the next step immediately in terms of that personal space. No, all good. Well, if you do, if it works for you just like that and you're like, okay. The other thing, or the next thing I would start to look at is, are there any other areas of your partnership or in your interactions where you notice that your horse pushes a little bit? So maybe it's not at the gate, maybe they're good with that, but maybe it's like in close proximity when you're leading them beside you, for example. That can be a thing. So again, this first part of the challenge is around personal space. So if you're finding that this part at the gate is working fine, see where else, and actually for everyone across the board, just start to notice, are there other areas where your horse is pushing on you and you actually need to enforce some spatial boundaries there. So that's our first exercise. Tomorrow night, we'll touch on the next one, and the next one will drop on Friday. So you're going to have a few things to work on. Over the long weekend, there'll probably be another 1 or 2 exercises drop over the week. And the Facebook group is there for you to jump in, ask questions between calls. So I'm actually going to create a question thread, post in that Facebook group and a thread for questions. So you can jump in there and you'll see everyone else's questions as well. Or you can just create your own post if you've got a number of photos or things that you want to put up. You can do that as well. Any questions before we finish up tonight? You're ready to rock and roll. I'm just going to check the chat. Thanks, Misty. Sounds amazing. Cool. You are so welcome. Okay, so I'm going to sign off. I'll get these uploads organized. I won't promise that it'll be up tonight, but I will have it up tomorrow by tomorrow lunchtime, and you're good to go. And I really look forward to seeing how you go, hearing how things change for you over the week, 10 days. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you soon. Good night.